my name is Lizzie, and this is Lizzie's Literary Life, and today we are doing my September Tipsy wrap up. So this is my witch's brew. Doesn't matter what it is, it's my witch's brew. Sorry if you can hear the washing machine in the background. You probably can't, but if you can, I'm sorry. We are here to drink this witch's brew, which is primarily vodka, and discuss the books that I read in the month of September. So, September was a month where I read some books. We're going to get into it. Let's get into some stats first. I think I have my stats page set up. I didn't really prepare for this video very much, but I think I have my stats page set up. We're going to just go through it. I'm going to put my drink down, and let's get into some stats. Okay, in September, I read 9 books for a total of 3,365 pages, which I feel like is a decent month as 2024 has been going. I don't know. It's okay. I listened to a total of 71.38 hours of audiobooks, and I spent a total of 45.51 real-time hours reading. Pages per book was 373, which is a longer book, maybe longer than average, slightly. I spent exactly on average 8 days to read each book. My average rating was a 3.44, which is honestly fine. Like, that's okay. What's my average rating for the year? Let me find out. Okay, my average rating for the year is a 3.55. So this month, September, was slightly lower than average for the year, but not that much lower. And now I have to change my spreadsheet back. Because my spreadsheet, I think it's very fancy. I did it myself and I like it a lot. I put in, for my stats page with all my graphs, I put in the start date and the end date that I want it to calculate stats in between. And it just does it for me. But I just put in the year and now I have to go back to the month. Okay, doing that right now. Though I will say, when I was setting up my stats page earlier, I was putting in September 1st to September 31st and it was giving me an error. And I was like, why is it giving me an error? Is one of my formulas wrong? It doesn't give me an error if I put in September 30th or October 1st, and I didn't know why it was giving me an error, and then I realized that it was because September 31st is not a date. So, anyway, I read an average of 116 pages per day, and I spent just about an hour and a half reading per day on average. I feel like that pages per day is not great, but that hours per day is okay, which makes me think I probably did a lot of audiobooks. But we'll find out when we get to that graph. My genre breakdown, I had a lot of genres this month. The biggest slice is mystery thriller, interesting, followed by fantasy, and then I have some others in there. My highest average rating, though I guess with only a small sample size, this it isn't super significant, but my highest average rating by genre goes to nonfiction and sci-fi dystopian, and the lowest goes to contemporary, which is interesting. Age demographics, I read mostly adult books with a couple young adults, and my average rating for adult books was significantly higher than the average rating for young adult books. Format-wise, yes, I did read predominantly audiobooks this month. 1 ebook, 1 physical, and then I had one, that yellow slice is hybrid. For books I read partially on audio, partially on ebook, or physical. What was that? Oh, there was a book that I read partially on my Kindle, partially on audio, just when I had the time for which. So that's why I had that hybrid one in there. As for where I acquired these books, pretty standard for me, mostly from the library, a couple from Everand, and one from NetGalley. No books I owned this month, unfortunately. And then my ratings, I had 3 4.5s and 3 3.5s, but I also had 2 2s and 1 3. So it is what it is. It is what it is. And I'm going to just get into the books. I don't know how long I'm going to talk about each book, because I don't know. We will find out. First up, we started with Squash That Series. Squash That Series is a readathon hosted by Bailey from Is Bailey Reading, and I participated in it, and I did vlog it. I don't know if that vlog is out yet or not. I don't know what my editing schedule is going to be, but I did vlog Squash That Series, though I don't know how thoroughly I reviewed the books, so I think I'm just going to review them anyway. And the first book that I read for Squash That Series was Take a Hint, Danny Brown by Talia Hibbert, which was the hybrid book. I read it partially on ebook, partially on audio. And this is actually the, series that I had started the furthest back. The, series has been on my TBR the longest that I hadn't DNF'd. Because I read the Chloe Brown one kind of a long time ago. This I gave 3.5 stars. It was okay. It was a romance. I think I liked it. I definitely liked it better than Chloe Brown. I don't know if I would like it better than Chloe Brown if I read it now, because Chloe Brown was the first real adult smutty romance that I read, and I listened to it on audio, and I didn't like it very much. I read it back in, I think, probably 2021, when I was not a romance reader at all. And I still don't consider myself a romance reader, but I do read romance sometimes. And I did read Take a Hint, Danny Brown, and it was okay. And I think I'm just going to move on. Next, I read The Mystery Guest by Nita Prose, which is the sequel to The Maid. And I loved The Maid, and this one I gave just 3.5 stars. It was okay. This is basically another hotel guest drops dead situation. We're following Molly the maid. She's very clearly not neurotypical. And so it's fun and interesting being in her head. Just because this is a different kind of perspective than we often read about. She has a very distinct voice, which I think Nita Prose does very well. But the plot of this one was less engaging, I think, than the plot of the first one, or I guess the novelty also wore off a little bit of the voice and stuff. It just was this one was just kind of okay. It was good, it wasn't bad, but I didn't love it. I'm gonna just keep moving, and we're gonna go through these really fast, I think. And then, for Squash That Series, I read Penrick's Demon by Lois McMaster Bujold, which is a series that my brother recommended me. It's a series of novellas, and I listened to this one on audio, and it's not long. It's just a 4-hour audiobook, so it took me just a couple hours to listen to. And what did I give it? I gave it 3 stars. I think I could really like this series. But this book, I think I need to eyeball read them, maybe, or just, pay better attention. That sounds bad. David, if you're watching it, I'm sorry. Watching this. This was fine. It's a fantasy. It's about, this guy who gets possessed by a demon, just, kind of by accident. And so he's just living with this demon inside him, which is a fun concept. I'm just going to lean back against my bookshelf. Which is a fun concept. And I think it was a fun story. It's a me problem. It's a me problem. So, yeah. Moving on. Then I read We'll Always Have Summer by Jenny Han, which is the 3rd book in the Summer I Turned Pretty series, which we were reading for the Throwback Book Club. Details about the Throwback Book Club that I host with Danielle from Danielle Reads down below. If you want more thoughts on this series, watch the live show, because it was very interesting. Me and Danielle disagreed on quite a bit. I gave this book 2 stars. I didn't like it at all, or I didn't like it very much at all. It kind of took a wild turn. So I can't really tell you why, because it's spoilers for the series, but if you have read this series and you want my thoughts, definitely go to the live show, because it was a really good discussion. I did not like this book. The last book I read for Squash That series, which I didn't finish until like a week after Squash That series ended, was The Girl Who Kicked the Hornet's Nest by Stieg Larsson, which is the third and final book in the series The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, the Millennium series, I think is what it's called. And I really liked this in the moment. I gave it 4.5 stars. In retrospect, do I think of it highly and remember it fondly? Not really. But I think this series is really well done generally. And I really enjoyed my reading experience. Again, it's a sequel, it's a third book. I can't tell you a lot about like the plot necessarily, but I thought it was well done. I thought the court scenes were well done. And it was just interesting. And I liked it. I'm giving you very little information in this wrap up, and I hope you don't mind, because I don't know. It's what's happening, so you're going to deal with it. And then I read To Like the Lightning by Ada Palmer, which is in my Jokes episode 4 vlog, which I think is already out, so I will link it right here, or possibly here, but I think it's here. Maybe it's here. One of the corners, I will link it. That should already be out. That's the video I'm planning on editing tomorrow as I'm filming this. And I talk about it at length there, but it was a series recommended by my other brother, and I really enjoyed this. I read it physically from the library, and I thought it was really excellent. I gave it 4.5 stars. There were parts of it that dragged for me, or like the reading experience dragged for me, but the book itself is very, very good, I think. It's a brain-on book, though. So, know that going in. It's a philosophical sci-fi. I do highly recommend the series. The series is called Terra Ignota. And I think that if you are into sci-fi, you should read it. And that's all I'm going to tell you. You should watch my Jokes episode 4 vlog. And then I read The Temptation of Magic by Megan Scott. This is a dark academia urban romantasy that I read because I really needed an August release for HRCYED. It was a problem. It was like my phone rudely cut me off because I was out of storage, so if the angle has changed, I apologize. I was talking about The Temptation of Magic, which is a dark academia urban romantasy, and if you're hearing that and you're like, girl, you don't like romantasy, that's the truth. The reason I read this was for HRCYED, the hardest reading challenge you'll ever do, hosted by Cordy, who will maybe be linked down in the here if I remember. Oh my goodness. You have to read a book released in each month of the year of HRCYED, hardest reading challenge you'll ever do. That's what it stands for. In the month that it's released, and you have a 30-day period for when the book is released to read the book, and it was September 20th, and I hadn't read an August release yet, and so I had to find a book that I had access to that was released right at the end of August, so I had time to read it, and this was what came up. It was released August 27th, I read it, and I finished it September 27th, so I really brought it down to the wire. This I did not like. I gave it 2 stars. It was typical romantasy, so if you like romantasy, maybe you'll like it, but I did not. I don't like the tropes of romantasy. I think the way that the romance is talked about is just not fun and nice to me. Personally, I don't like it. It's also called the Imperial series, and the Fourth Wing series is called the Empyrean. And I think they were probably like in development mostly at the same time, but also seems weird to me that, I mean, I guess if you wrote this whole book, you wouldn't like change things just because another book came out and was super popular that had a similar name, but maybe I would change things because it feels weird to me. But yeah, that was The Temptation of Magic. I didn't like it very much. And then I read For the Junie B Jones read-along, which is an excellent, fantastic read-along hosted by Bailey from Miss Bailey Reading and Martine from Just Martine, where we read Junie B Jones books and also nonfiction. We read The Other Significant Others, Reimagining Life with Friendship at the Center, as one of our nonfiction books. And I loved this book. I thought it was really, really good. I gave it 4.5 stars, but it's one that I'll like continue to think about. It's about friendship, and it's about like people and partnerships that have chosen to center their lives around a friendship rather than a romantic relationship, whether they be, you know, wherever they fall on the LGBTQ spectrum or if they're straight. Just like, it's about friendship, and I really, really liked it. There were a lot of parts of it that I really strongly related to in a lot of ways, for different parts of my life, and our discussion about it was really good too on the live show, and I really liked it, and I would really recommend it if it sounds like something you'd be interested in, a book about friendship, a book about like unconventional relationship structures. I thought it was really good, and we're just going to move right along to the final book that I read in the month of September, which was The Examiner by Janice Hallett. This came out in September, and I actually had an arc of it through NetGalley. Janice Hallett wrote The Appeal, which I really enjoyed, and also The Twyford Code, which I haven't read. But this one is similar to her other books in that it's like a multimedia, here's the case files, you figure it out yourself type book. Where you're like just reading people's emails and reading people's texts and their whatevers, and you're like, what even is the point of this, until it all kind of comes together, because it's not a narrative, it's just a collection of things that create a narrative. I think Janice Hallett is very, very good at what she does in terms of that structure. This one was about a art master's, like an art marketing, I don't remember what it was called, it was like multimedia something art marketing master's degree, where there are these 6 students who are on this course, and sinister stuff goes down, and you see their emails, you see their like message boards on like the like Canvas or like whatever the school message board situation system is, and you also see their assignments, and you see messages from their like instructors as well, and a murder mystery happens, or like a mystery happens, and I thought it was good. I did give it 3.5 stars. Maybe it could be a 4, like compared to some of the other books in here that I gave 3.5 stars, but it was pretty good. I liked it. I like what Janice Hallett does, and I liked it. I thought it was kind of juicy. Like, you're reading these emails, and you're like, this is juicy. So I do recommend it. I haven't written my NetGalley review yet, and I need to. I'm bad at doing things. Anyway, I liked it. Okay. And that was the final book that I read in the month of September. So comment down below if you have read any of these books, or if you want to, and subscribe to my channel and like this video, and I will see you in the next one coming hopefully very soon. Bye!